So, Tom, I want to just touch back on your service. When you were in Mogadishu, was this you like you were a kid, I guess, right? Was this your first exposure to like real combat? And it's like the worst. Like, I mean, for me, like, I mean, the movie kind of gave like the context, like, holy shit, like this is bad. But I can only imagine what it was like on the ground. And if that's your first experience, I mean, I can only imagine, especially if you're a kid, that must have just been like way too much, right?
I was changing my mind right away, but
You're 26.
You can't go anywhere. I was
You're young.
26, 23 when I got there. And, well, 23. So yeah, 23, just over 23. So 2 years later, I was in Somalia, 2 years in the unit. And in those 2 years, I mean, I'd been in the Army 3 years, really, regular Army mechanized engineer. So, you know, I'm not doing a lot of infantry stuff. And then I was in schools. Right, I was in the Q course, and I was in selections, and I was in this and that, and then I made the unit, and then I was in training for the unit, and then boom, 2 years after I start, I'm in Somalia, and that's the very first combat, first combat I'd ever seen. And a lot of those guys had been in Rangers or SF before. I was at 12 Bravo. I went through SF, but through the school. I wasn't in SF, so I never deployed. I wasn't in combat. I wasn't in Panama. I wasn't in Grenada. I wasn't in those places that some of the guys that were there had been in before. That was my very first combat. And I know I was leaning on a lot of the other guys, but they had never seen combat like that, right? That's not what we were designed. We were in and out, in and out. When you get pinned down for 18 hours and you're such a small element, I mean, typically you lose. I mean, typically those odds you lose. Thank goodness for the 160th and the Little Birds that were nonstop that night to keep the hordes of people away. It's like those zombie movies. You just, on the screen, you see them, thousands of zombies just shooting at them, and they just keep coming. It's terrifying. So I remember, I mean, I'm a grown man now, and I'm not afraid to say that it was terrifying. A lot of guys won't say that. Oh, so I just did my job. No, I was terrified. You know, thought I was going to die. Of course, I'm terrified, and I don't even want to get shot. And I'm watching guys get shot. This guy's heel was blown off. I'm working on this guy was shot in the back of the butt, and his testicles were shot off. I'm working on this guy, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not even the medic. You know, it's just he's across the street trying to save another life, and meanwhile, people are fighting to keep people back while you're doing this, and it's 18 hours into it. Well, 18 hours later, but halfway through it, I'm thinking, wow, this, okay. 1 hour I get, 2 hours, 3, 9 hours later, I'm like, are we going home anytime soon? And my team leader's like, I don't know. I don't know. And he took off and went the other way. And I'm thinking, wow, I don't like this at all. And it was one of those where I just cracked down. I'm like, okay, I hate everybody. I hate everything, and everything needs to die. That way we'll live. But it was certainly something you can never prepare for in training. You can't imagine what you think you'll do. You can't imagine what it feels like. You can't imagine the fear. I know a lot of people, I know it's scary. No, you don't. Unless you thought you were going to die and people were coming and you couldn't stop them, you don't know the fear of that. And if anyone tries to say that's not, I wasn't scared, I'll just laugh. All right, what's wrong with you then? I mean, if you weren't afraid of that, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you jump up and take off and run out and start shooting people there? I don't know, because people don't want to die, especially a group of people who are used to getting what they want when they want it and being in charge and control and dominant. I mean, we had plastic helmets, skateboard helmets, man. I mean, the next morning we had some shipped in from the UK, some Kevlar helmets for sure. But that was the thought process, in and out, in and out, in and out. What could go wrong? What can happen? And it's a good lesson, I think, that we needed to learn. Sadly, we had to learn that lesson, to maybe save and change some lives down the road. I don't know.